There's a terrible quotation from your second president, John Adams, who said, "Democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There never was a democracy yet that did not commit suicide." And those words, fortunately, have proved to be spectacularly untrue. Democracy has been the great survivor, and in the last quarter of the 20th century, democracy marched across swathes of Africa and Latin America as well, from 25 or 30% of the globe being covered by democratic governance, moved to 65%. But recently, and this is where there's been some comment, the march seems to have slowed. In some cases it's gone into reverse, the questions have multiplied, the idea that there was a marriage of economic and political freedom has come under question. We've heard talk and articles in learned journals about not democratic growth, but about a democratic recession. And some of the youngest and most fragile democracies face cynicism in their own countries and fatalism abroad. And my plea today is that with a great deal of humility and with a great deal of care, we hold on to our idealism and our belief in democratic values. A belief in the equal worth of human beings, their freedom to pursue a life of their own choosing, and the need for political systems to give vent to these aspirations. And the argument I want to try to put is that we have to think about the capacity of the state to offer protection, welfare, and justice to its citizens, on the one hand, and on the other to offer accountability so that it acts as their servant, not as their master, as two sides of the same coin. Without a functioning state, lawlessness and disorder prevails, and citizens' liberties are at the mercy of powerful forces outside the state. Without accountability, without elections, without a free press, without voluntary association, without legal protection for human rights, then the state's power is unchecked. And actually that is a force for instability in the modern world, because strong states, as well as states that are too strong, as well as states that are too weak, are a threat to stability. I think I should say a word about why I've chosen Pakistan and Afghanistan as the focus for this discussion about democratic advance and democratic values. 800,000 Britons, 800,000 British citizens have Pakistani heritage. Migration has enriched both of our countries, but it's created profound risks as well, since the majority of the terrorist incidents that we investigate have links back to Pakistan. Why am I making this speech in Washington and not in London? I think it's important to address that as well. And the reason is that your decisions and the decisions of your governments are critical to the future of Pakistan and Afghanistan, and therefore very important to us. As the biggest bilateral donor in each country, as Pakistan's largest trading partner, as the largest contributing nation in ISAF in Afghanistan, you have influence in this region like no other nation. The first lesson is that we need to reject the false choice of political reconciliation versus military engagement. The second lesson is about the credibility of the state alongside the credibility of its democracy. The third lesson, in a way, is an ironic one to have to give either to a British audience or to an American audience. It's ironic because our own democracy was not built from the top down, but was built from the bottom up. In countries like Afghanistan and Pakistan, it seems to me essential that we do build democracy from the bottom up, not just from the top down, because central government is as remote from the daily concerns of Afghans and Pakistanis as international government sometimes. In Afghanistan, that's why we have sponsored the National Solidarity Programme, which has led to the development of 20,000 community development councils around the country, which plan, manage and monitor development projects such as rural roads, wells and schools. The fourth lesson is that democracy and democratic accountability requires a balance of power between the institutions of civil society rather than a monopoly of power, be it in the army or in the executive. Stability requires equilibrium in the distribution of power, with the different arms of the state, parliament, judiciary and army, held in balance, and between the state, civil society and individuals. This democratic transition is not an overnight sensation. It takes years, sometimes tens, or even in our own cases, hundreds of years. It suffers setbacks, periods of crises, descents into danger, threats from within and without. But it survives because it's the will of the people. And by supporting it, I think we do right by ourselves and by right by people in those countries. That's why it's so important. Thank you very much indeed.